Hey guys, this is Austin, and today I have one question and one question only. Why do Beats by Dre exist? So in front of me, I have nearly the entire lineup of current Beats products, everything from the Beats EP all the way up to the Studio 3s. So if you're an audiophile, you're probably not going to be interested in Beats at all. However, in 2018, I'm curious to see how much things have changed, as actually some of these were a little bit surprising to me. Case in point, the Beats EP. Now actually, we did do a video on these a couple years ago when they first came out, but you can think of these basically as the entry-level Beats. At $130 retail, and usually between $90 to $100 actually in stores, they're about the cheapest Beats you can get your hands on. Like most Beats, they do feel pretty nice. So not only do you have this metal ear mechanism which is going to be able to adjust in and out, but the entire Beats are going to be made with soft touch plastic, some pretty nice feeling ear cups. They definitely do feel their price. Whether they sound their price is a different story, however. For some background, I'm going to be listening on a Google Pixel 2 using a USB-C to headphone adapter. Now this might not be the highest end audio setup, but this is the way that I would typically listen to music. The EPs are only available in a wired version, whereas pretty much all the other Beats I'm taking a look at are going to be wireless. Now as far as listening to music, I'm going to be using Spotify, streaming 320 kilobit MP3s. I mean, the bass, there's a lot of bass. There's a lot of bass. But for hip hop especially, it's not going to be bad as you expect by Dre's headphones. So you get to another kind of track which is going to give you a little bit more of a balanced sound where there's actually some differentiation between the lows, the mids, the highs, and you see that they get a little bit muddy, especially in the mids. They sound good. I mean, don't get me wrong, I feel like a lot of people could pick up this pair of headphones, put it on, and it's like, wow, there's so much bass, it's so punchy. But if you want something that's going to be a little more balanced, these are probably not going to be your best option. Which is where this comes in. This is a pair of Status Audio CB1s. If you've watched the channel for a while, you've probably seen me recommend these many times, and that's for good reason. This is a pair of headphones that lives in my bag every single day. Now these aren't going to be completely neutral, there is going to be some accentuation of the bass, but they're in general going to be much flatter and much more even than something like the Beats. Now the main reason I like these guys is not only because they do have an over-ear design, something that I find comfortable when I'm doing longer editing sessions or listening to music, but they're also really affordable. At $60, it is difficult, if not basically impossible, to find a better pair of headphones than these. Yeah. So, you know what, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I am a little bit biased because I listen to these headphones so much. I do like the sound, but I think the biggest difference here is that while no, they're not going to kick you in the face with that bass, you are going to be able to hear the full song. There's nothing that's going to be super muddy. It's a lot clearer of a sound, and that's something personally that I like a lot. Next up, we have the Beats X's. Now this is going to be the first in their line of wireless headphones. And as you can see, as they're sort of the earbud style, they're going to be a lot smaller, but still promise that same super punchy sound. So as Beats by Dre is owned by Apple now, there's a couple of interesting things about the Beats X that do take advantage of that. First of all, they are going to be charging with a lightning connector as opposed to micro USB, so if you already have an iPhone, that makes it a little bit simpler. And they also do have the Apple W1 wireless chip. Now that's actually a big deal if you do have an iOS or a Mac. An iOS? An iOS device? Can you have an iOS? Is an iOS a thing? I don't think that's a thing. Although if you do have an Android phone or anything else, they'll still work like normal headphones. It's just an added benefit if you do have an iOS. I'm gonna stop making that joke. One of the nice parts about the W1 chip is that literally all I had to do is pull these out of the box, press the button, and I'm able to connect them, and they will be good not only on my phone, but also on anything else that uses my Apple ID. Okay, there's still bass. So something else that these actually do a really good job of is isolate you from sound. Now it does depend on the ear tips, you need to make sure they fit well in your ears, but if you get a good pair, they actually do a really good job of blocking everything else out, especially if you're going to something like the gym or whatever, they should work pretty well. To really test these out though, I'm gonna see if I can get them to come out of my ears. Oh, this giant thing is in the way. Can I do like jumping jacks? Like, I've done these since I was like 7. I was just trying to think of my normal workouts don't involve anything crazy. Maybe if you're running or something, they fit pretty well. But the main competitor to something like Beats X is actually going to also be from Apple. The Apple Earpods are one of my favorite pairs of headphones. It's almost like a trend of I'm taking my favorite headphones against Beats in this video or something. What makes Earpods special is they're of course going to be fully wireless little earbuds. So if you've ever listened to the stock headphones that come with an iPhone, you'll probably be pretty familiar with how these sound. Definitely not great, but it's hard to argue with having something that's no wires, no cables, it's going to be fully passing the workout test as long as they actually fit in your ears. And they also do come with a charging case, which makes everything super simple. The real pitch for AirPods is not necessarily going to be in sound quality, but convenience. Next up, we have the Beats Solo 3 Wireless. Now, when most people think about Beats by Dre headphones, they think of these headphones. Now, you can say a lot about Beats by Dre headphones, but something they always deliver is a nice unboxing experience. Change the way you hear sound. Well, yeah, I guess that's a thing. You might have to do that. So if you open up the carrying case, what you're going to find is actually a pretty nice looking pair of Solos. So that is something that I definitely cannot take away from Beats. They do look nice. So whether it's to your particular taste or not is completely up to you, but I do get why a lot of people will pick these guys up more as a fashion statement than something that's going to be purely for audio. You do also get the 3.5mm cable, so if you don't want to use them wirelessly, you can just plug them in. Assuming your phone still has a headphone jack, of course. Build quality wise, they feel pretty decent. So Beats by Dre are known for maybe subtly enhancing the design of their headphones with some strategically placed heavy metal to make them feel more premium, but generally speaking, they feel all right. However, I've had plenty of occasions where people have shown me their broken Solos, so your mileage might vary on that one. All right, wow. I've forgotten, it's been a while since I've worn Solos. I've forgotten how tight they are on your head. I mean, I don't think I have that big of a head, do I? I can say that all of the Beats I've tried so far aren't quite as punchy as those EPs. Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a lot of bass here, but it's not quite as overpowering. Man, I wore this for like 2 minutes and my ears are already like sore and sweaty. It's no contest so far. I feel like the Solos sound better than any of the other Beats I've tried. So one of the interesting things about these guys is that while they retail at $300, you can actually pick them up for closer to $200, and that is not the case for the comparison that I have in mind. Now that is a much nicer looking carrying case. So the Beats Studio 3 Wireless are going to be the flagship of the line, as long as you don't count the Beats Pro, which are sort of more DJ headphones, I guess. But these, oh man, that's red. Now for the all important, does this actually make my head hurt? A little bit. It's a little bit on the tighter side as far as the fit, but it also is going to be an over-ear design, which is going to be a lot more comfortable and it's not squishing my ears like the Solos did. That's not bad. So these guys are going to, of course, have that Apple W1 chip, and they are going to, if we go into the box, be powered by micro USB and come with the same 3.5mm headphone cable, although thankfully this one's going to be in red to match your super cool Beats. So when you turn on the Studio 3s, they do default to having their noise canceling on, but if you jump into the options, you can turn them on and off, and you can also use a button command on the side if you're not using an iPhone. Okay, so I'm gonna be completely real with you. The last time I listened to Studios was a long time ago. They just sound muddy. Like, these headphones should cost $350 retail. Now, to be fair, we were able to pick these up for $220, and generally speaking, they are on sale for a lot less than that, but, man. I'm really surprised. I legitimately feel like the Solos sound a lot better. And I'll tell you what almost definitely sounds better. The wonderfully named Sony WH-1000X Mark IIs. Now these are widely regarded as some of the nicest, best sounding Bluetooth headphones on the market. And well, they're pretty much right. In addition to the standard noise cancellation, which sounds pretty good, there's also going to be an ambient mode. So you can turn that on with a button on the headphones, but the easier way to do it is while you're listening to music, if you just put a hand over the ear cup, it's going to beep at you, and not only does it dim the actual volume of your music or turn it down. Can you dim music? I don't think you dim music. Anyway, regardless, you're going to not only be able to turn your music volume down, but also turn on the microphone on the headphones so you can actually more easily hear your environment. Take your hand off the headphones and your music comes up to the full volume. Really clever stuff. Okay, first of all, they actually sound like a good balanced pair of headphones. There's plenty of bass, there's plenty of accentuation on sort of the nicer, more punchy parts of the music, but importantly, as I accidentally trigger Google Assistant, they're also going to be able to just sound like a good solid pair of headphones. But they are going to be more expensive. So while the MSRP for both of these guys is going to be a pretty pricey $350, these guys, well, they actually cost $350. The Beats can be found for as little as $220 for the Studio 3s. Now that might not sound like a bad deal, but don't do that. Just a bad idea. Get these guys. Or something else, honestly. So why do Beats by Dre exist in 2018? Well, because people keep buying them. And I actually do see some reasons why you might want to pick them up. The style is obviously something that's going to be very subjective. And thanks to all the sales, a lot of these are actually much more affordable than they used to be. That being said, while some of them are not bad like the Solos and even the EPs if you want some really punchy headphones, you can pretty much always get something that's going to sound better for the same money if not less.